Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I am sharing a bunch of new stamps, dies, and stencils from Hero Arts, and they are all part of their Spring 2022 release. This release includes layering stamps, layering stencils, spotlight dies, large word dies, large background stamps, and more. So let me share with you the products that I received, how they stamp out or die cut, and then we'll turn them into cards. So here are the products that I'm working for the Hero Arts Spring release, and I am going to start off by showing you the Passing Clouds Bold Prints Cling Stamp. Since it's a rubber cling stamp, I'm going to take out the foam pad from my Misty, take off the little plastic that has the print on one side, and put it into my Misty over some cardstock. This time I am just using some Salvaged Patina. I did use my Debby tool to get some good pressure on the outside of the Misty, and it came out great. So another thing that I always like to do with background stamps is to do multicolor stamping, so I'm going to do a little bit of that as well. I'm going to use several colors of Distress Oxide inks, and I'm just kind of stamping the ink along the stamp in little sections. So I make sure that I get the pink stamped out, then the orange, then the yellow, then the green, and all the colors that I used will be listed down below. I love the way that looks as well. So the next set that I want to share with you are the color layering cherries. They come with a stamp set and some dies. Now the stamp set is a very easy layering stamp set. There are just 2 layers per image. There's a 3 cherry image, a 1 cherry image with leaves, and the dies cut those out. There are also some really cute sentiments as well. So I'm going to use the new Thermoweb pink tape to hold my dies in place and cut them out. Then I'm going to put that negative piece inside my Misty, and I'm going to take my stamps and line them up in the open areas and then put the positive pieces back inside. I'm going to start out by stamping Neon Red from Hero Arts, which is a really cool bright color, and I thought it would be perfect for these cherries. I did stamp them a couple of times to really get a great impression, and then I'm going to use Red Royal, which is a darker red on top for that second layer. And I love those cherries. They're so cute. So for the stems and leaves, of the set of cherries, I'm using 2 colors of green on top of each other because I feel like when you see the leaf, there's usually a greener look to the stem, but when it's a single cherry like that, the stem is often more brownish, so I did red and then brown on top. And these are all the sentiments stamped out from the stamp set. Okay, next up is the color layering Happy Birthday stamp set. This is a really fun one, so I'm going to use some Hero Hues Reactive ink cubes to stamp the layer of Happy first, and then you can see that the second layer just falls right on top. Super, super simple, but it does this cool outline thing. So I'm using a different color of the reactive cubes for that. And then I stamped Birthday, and I'm gonna stamp a dark blue on top. Now for this one, I wanted a really darker blue, so I ended up using a ink pad instead of the cubes, but I love the way that looks as well. The Congrats and Yay is a Stamp and Cut XL, so large dies with shadows for Congrats, Yay, and an exclamation point, and then sub-sentiments in both straight fonts and script fonts. So I cut out the Yay and the Congrats and the little exclamation point out of some glitter cardstock, and I'm just going to adhere them down to some vellum. That's just one of my favorite ways to highlight large word dies like this. Some glitter on some vellum just looks really cute, and I'm just using some liquid glue in a pen to adhere that down to the vellum shadow in the background there. So I'll just set those aside and let them dry for when we're ready to put them on a card. And the exclamation point is separate, so you can put it next to the Yay, or you can put it next to the Congrats, however you want, and then you can stamp out those sub-sentiments. For the Looking Glass Birthday Party dies, it's a set of square dies with little cutouts in the center. So I cut the first one out of that blue cardstock, and I'm using pencil to show where I need to put the second die down so that they'll all line up on top of each other. So using those pencil lines is really helpful, and then holding the dies in place with that pink tape also helps to get them in a spot where they can all line up on top of each other, and then it looks dimensional. The scene looks dimensional from the front to the back. Okay, next up, we are going to check out the color layering flowers in a vase. Now this is very simple. I love stencil layering. I think it's the easiest thing to do. There's barely any work to it and it always comes out looking fabulous. So I'm going to use that same pink tape to hold the stencil in place on cardstock. And I decided to start with that vase and a couple of those flowers up top. So I'm using some detailed blending brushes so I can get just the ink exactly where I want it on the vase and those small flowers. So again, this is a really easy way to create a very colorful looking image without having to use markers or pens or anything else, just using some ink and some ink blending. So I am again using the Hero Hues Reactive ink cubes for their bright colors on this image here. So I was so excited for this spring release and I wanted to use lots of bright, fun colors to represent, you know, the beginning of spring. So I've got all these little ink cubes and I am even able to color the flower center a different color than the flower. So I'm marking the corners. They have these little opening squares here so that I can line up the second stencil exactly where it's supposed to go. So I put the openings above those little squares that I drew, and then I'm just taping from the bottom and top to the back of the cardstock to hold that stencil in place. And then I go through the same exact thing. So any of the flowers that look the same as far as design, I'm trying to keep the same colors. There are some layers to this. That's why it's a layering stencil, obviously, but this second layer creates a second layer on that blue flower. And I really like, again, how you can add these details with just ink blending. It makes it very simple and quick and easy as well. So here is the image, and this is only the second stencil, third stencil. So I'm going to do the same exact thing again. Line up the openings above the squares, tape off the top and bottom, and then go in and add some different colors for different layers on top of those flowers. So I've got some kind of coral on the taffy color pink, and then I've got a darker purple on the lighter purple. Just have fun with those colors. All of these reactive inks I think look really, really well together. So getting a couple of those ink cube sets is a great way to add a fun, bright, colorful palette to your stash. And the Hero Hues Reactive inks blend really easily. They're nice and smooth, and look at how bright and opaque those colors are. Now that you've seen all these fun stamps, dies, and stencils, let's turn the things that I've created into cards. All right, for the first card, I'm going to start with the layered stencil vase flowers that we just created, and I'm going to cut off those squares. So I'm going to cut it down just a little bit smaller than an A2, and I used the stamps from the congrats and yay to stamp "you did it" right on the bottom of the vase, and then I'm going to pop up the yay on top. So I just cut little foam pieces small enough to fit behind that glitter, and now I'm matting this on some blue cardstock to highlight the blue in the flowers. Super simple, so much fun, and I love the bright colors. For the rainbow clouds, I'm going to cut that down to about 4 by 5 1/4 to mat it on some white cardstock. Again, I'm cutting foam squares small enough to fit behind the congrats, that glitter cardstock that I put on the vellum shadow. I'm just going to peel off all those little back protective layers so that this pops up above those rainbow clouds. And then I have exciting times from the stamp set of congrats and yay at the bottom of that card as well. Okay, for the spotlight birthday dies, I did trim this all down, even with all of those layers, so that I could mat it on some white cardstock. And you get lots of dimension there because we've got like 3 layers of cardstock, but it looks great on the card background. I forgot to share that Hero Hearts has a new Looking Glass Ornate frame, which I did die cut out of some silver glitter cardstock as well. I'm using another stamp from the yay and congrats at the bottom of the card panel, and then I'm going to use some Ultra Bond liquid glue to adhere that glittery ornate frame right around that spotlight square, so it just looks great around that. And now I'm going to use a white gel pen just to add some details to some of the little cardstock elements in that spotlight frame. So I have some shine marks on the balloons, I have dots on the cake, just some lines on the flags, and then a little bit of accents to the present as well. And then I'm going to use some Tonic Studios Nouveau Crystal Glaze to add some shine and dimension to those balloons. Such a fun card because of all that dimension. I love that look of the spotlight dies. For the blue clouds background, I decided to cut that down as well. And I'm going to use a circle die to cut out the happy birthday, the layered happy birthday. I'm going to put the clouds down on a darker blue cardstock, and then I'm going to add some foam squares behind that circle that has the layered happy birthday on it. And I was so excited about the glaze. I just love the way it looks. I always forget about using it, that I decided to add it to the happy birthday as well. So it's hard to see in camera, but it does add some glaze and dimension to that sentiment. For the layering cherries, I decided to stamp thank you from the stamp set on some white cardstock, and then cherry much in red. And then I'm going to layer some red over green cardstock and just have both of those colors from the stamped die cut cherry images that I have, and then I'm going to layer the white over that. So the green is A2, the red is a little bit smaller than that, and the white is a little bit smaller than that. And then I'm going to use some foam squares to pop up those triple cherries with the stems and leaves on it. And then again, because once I get on a kick, it's hard to get me off, I have the crystal glaze from Tonic Studios to add some dimension and shine to those cherries. And when they dry, they look absolutely fantastic with the color layering of the stamps and the glaze. What I shared today is just a tiny fraction of all the stamps, dies, and stencils that Hero Arts is releasing today. So be sure to head to my blog where you can enter to win a gift card to Hero Arts, and you can see all of the new fabulous spring products that they have. If you love checking out new products so you can decide if you want to add them to your stash, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell so you can be notified every time I have a new video available. As always, I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. There's no pigeons today. It's like quiet. Yay! Did you hear that? I think that's actually a dove, but still, more cooing. Oh, now there's a fly. I see the fly. It's a big fly. Oh boy, it's always something, right?